Hi everyone, my name is Ben Goldsmith from Breakthrough Property, and over the coming days I'll be doing some video shorts on top tips for tenant management. Now the first one I want to talk about is tenants and the 80-20 principle. Now if you don't know, if you haven't heard of the Pareto principle, it's the 80-20 principle, and it states that for many events, in fact he says all events, but roughly 80% of the effects come from 20% of causes. And he developed this in terms of understanding the global distribution of income amongst the population, where 80% of the wealth was held by 20% of the population. But the idea, if not the exact ratio, applies to many, if not most, areas of life. So you'll find things like you wear 20% of your clothes 80% of the time. You visit 20% of the websites 80% of the time. You get 80% of your income from 20% of your customers. Or you get 80% of your complaints from 20% of your customers. So in my experience, this also applies to tenants. So we tend to get 90% of late payment issues from about 10% of our tenants, and it's the same tenants month after month. We tend to get 90% of complaints from about 5% of our tenants, and I could probably say that about 80% of our evictions have to take place on about 20% of our properties. So it's not just an interesting fact, but it's something you need to understand if you're going to make property your business and your financial future. So we recognise that 90+% of our tenants are pretty perfect, to be honest with you. They're model tenants. They move in, they sign the documents, they pay the rent on time, and they let us know when there are maintenance issues, and they understand the time frames for fixing those maintenance issues. It's about the 10% of tenants that take up our time and energy and sometimes cause us significant costs along the way. We need to make sure that we limit the percentage of tenants that are problematic by effectively checking our prospective tenants. When we do get problem tenants, we need to manage them out of the property as quickly as possible in some cases. For example, if a tenant has been late paying rent and you've given them a chance to catch up and they fail to do so, you need to take a decision to start the eviction process and move them on. Ideally, you negotiate them out of the property without having to go through the full eviction process, which can be very time consuming and costly. So you make sure that you know who your difficult tenants are, and make sure that you actively manage the problems that they cause. And if you just can't manage them effectively, then you start getting them out of the property. So it's about understanding who they are and managing them, and if necessarily, evicting bad tenants. You have to take that decision sometimes. So anyway, that's the 80-20 principle and how it applies to tenants. I hope you found that useful. If you've got any questions, then please do put them on the Facebook page, on the Breakthrough Property Facebook page, or drop me an email at ben@breakthroughproperty.co.uk. I'm always happy to discuss questions and answer questions on property, so do get in touch with me if you're interested in that. Thanks very much. Bye.